Good morning, everybody. Welcome to snowy South Dakota today, actually. Welcome to B9Creation's webinar here, live webinar. I'm your host, Cody Cooper. I'm a sales engineer here. And joining me today is Adrian O'Daniel, a customer support specialist. Today, we're going to be covering some fast technology and the B9Create 2.0 software. So yeah, with that, let's get started. All right, so as a reminder, B9 Creations, we're a high precision industrial grade additive manufacturing company. We build and sell, or build and manufacture 3D printing for additive manufacturing here, or 3D printers for additive manufacturing. As a global provider of digital manufacturing technology, B9 Creations has become the industry leader in production, speed, and value. It now stands as the additive manufacturing market leader in high precision applications such as medical, aerospace, jewelry, model making, prototyping, and manufacturing, and research. B9 Creations serves customers and certified dealers in nearly 70 countries around the world. Some of those very customers are listed below here. So B9 Creations is a global network. We have, we're expanded into at least like 70 countries here. And around 6 continents, but Antarctica will get you definitely one of these days. So as you can see here. So throughout this webinar, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to enter them in the chat. Our panelist, Adrian here, is going to record those and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation here. So. With that, we're going to get started with the live demo here. So this was pre-recorded by our panelist, Adrian O'Daniel here. And yeah, please enjoy this.
With B9 Creations, and I'm going to be going over the B9Create 2.0 software with you today. When you first open the B9Create 2.0 software, you are going to see a handy window that says, "Welcome to Fast Technology, powered by B9Create 2.0 Pioneer Edition." This window is very handy, so I recommend not checking the "Do Not Show This Again" box that is found in the bottom left corner, because this box has a lot of helpful information in regards of how to use the software. You can look at our overview and our quick start guide. You can look at all of the steps from importing all the way to slicing. You can also submit us a ticket directly from this page if you have an issue, or if there's something in 2.0 that you don't see and you would like to see, you can submit us a feedback request and we would get that as well. So for the time being, we are going to go ahead and click OK in the bottom right corner to close the window. And by default, you will see the build table centered in the middle of your screen. We are going to start in the top left corner of the software, and we're going to move in a clockwise direction and touch on all of the different pieces of the software. So like a traditional program, in the top left corner, you'll see File, Edit, Settings, and Help. Starting with File, this is where you can start a new project. You can open a previously saved project. You can save your project that you're currently working on directly from here. You can also save project as, which will pop up a window and ask you where on your computer you would like to save if you would like to make a duplicate file upon your computer. You can also directly quit the program from here, but you can also click the X in the top right corner to do the same function. You'll also note there's hotkeys at the end of each item in this menu. So for those who prefer a hotkey command, these are the hotkeys that are assigned to each function. Also under Edit, there's the undo and redo function, which also have the same hotkeys, which is the same undo and redo functions within Windows. Moving over to settings, there's a few options in here that you can change around how your B9Create 2.0 looks. You can have your build table shown, which I currently have, and we're going to leave that shown for today's demonstration. If you don't want the build table, you can just simply click that section and it will uncheck the show build table box and it will disappear. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on. Show bounding boxes is related to how your bounding boxes are set up in the STL model that you load into your program, into 2.0. There's nothing on our build table right now, so the bounding boxes will not display. Under mode, there are two different modes, and by default, when you first open the program, you'll be in workflow. Workflow mode basically shows you a step-by-step process that it forces you to go through. We're not going to utilize that particular process today. That's really for folks who are brand new to using a CAM type software. We're going to leave it at design, which is already selected. A few other options under settings. We have a theme, so you can change the color. You can have it dark, neutral, or light. And then we're going to go ahead and click on options here so we can show you some of the options that you have. You can change your zoom speed and your rotation speed if you would like. If you somehow lose that box that opens up when you first open your B9Create software, you can come in here and recheck it and it will start popping up again. You can also change your scroll inversion. It's currently set to standard. And you can also have your contour lines either on or off if you chose to do so. If you have material settings that you want to modify, you can make your custom material settings for your printer shown in this box. And then licensing just shows what license key is assigned to your B9Create 2.0 software. And if you do have all of your settings changed and you need them to be reset to your default values, you just click Reset All to Default and it will set it up as if you had first opened B9Create 2.0 for the very first time. The last thing up here in the top left corner is Help. When you click on Help, keyboard shortcuts is the first option. This is all of those keyboard shortcuts just kind of consolidated into one spot. So if you want to know how to do certain things with a keyboard shortcut, this is where it would show you. You can also submit a support ticket from here as well, so you don't have to do it from that very first screen. You can also give us feedback from here. And then if we ever need to know what version of B9Create 2.0 you're using, you can come under here, under About, and it will tell you your version. Sometimes we may need to know that if you're having issues. One other thing that I want to call out, right now it says Unsave Project here, right below all of those menu options. It has a material type, so whatever material you have specified will be shown here. It will save your project name up here in the corner when you have saved a project. But two important pieces of information is the build height and the build volume. So for our FastWax users, when they are trying to find out how much build volume their model has, this is where you would come and find that information. So now moving over to the right hand side in the top right corner, there are two main tabs. There's the Layout tab, which is where you always are going to start when building a new model to print. There's also the Support tab, which is right below that. We're not going to go into that just yet because we need to add a model. So you'll notice slicing is unavailable right now because we don't have anything on our build table. You have your printer type. It defaults to the B9 Core 530. I'm going to change it to the B9 Core 550, but all of our printer options are shown under here. We're going to use the 550 for our example today. Underneath of the printer type, it shows you your build table's area dimensions. So if you're ever curious about what that is, that number is displayed right there. Now we're going to move down to material. For jewelers, it will have the emerald and the yellow right up at the top. If you are casting with FastWax, it's down here at the bottom. For our example today, we are going to pick emerald. And then once you have specified those pieces of information, down below that it says parts and you have the ability to add. Now before you click add, it is important to know what measurement your model is built in, your STL model. A lot of times millimeters is the one to leave it at, so that's why we have it at the default. So I'm going to leave it there. When you hit add, which will bring up a window to asking us to choose where our STL file is located. For our demonstration today, I'm going to use the matrix signet ring. So I'm going to select that ring and hit open. A pending STL window will open up for us. There's a few things that you can do on this window. The first one is you can add more files. So if you wanted to add multiple STLs from different spots on your computer, you can do that from this button here. There is a Save Repaired Files box. It is defaulted to being checked. What the software does is it performs a repair function which goes through the STL file and repairs any holes that it sees, which helps when we're trying to print the file on the printer. It repairs those holes so we get a successful print. It is default to being checked, but it will perform the repair function regardless if the box is checked or not. You can also import all. If you have more than one STL on this window and you want to import them all once you're done loading, you just click that button and it will load them all into the software. Before we click import all, we're going to talk about this row right below it. This shows which items that you have pending to load into the 2.0 software. So right now we only have the one STL. It shows you the file size over here towards the right, and then this little bar here indicates whether or not the file is an ideal size for our software. If you see this bar turn red, the software will still try to load the STL file, but you will notice some latency or lagging within the software. You can also import STLs individually by this white import button here. Before we click that, you can also delete STLs from this window if you choose that you don't want them to be loaded. So for now, we're just going to click the single import, and you'll notice a loading bar down towards the bottom, indicating how long it takes to load the STL. Once it is successfully loaded, you'll see the item move down to loaded parts. Matrix signet underscore repair underscore 6 is the repaired file that I had saved, so it performed the repair function on my STL, and now it is 2.98 megabytes in size. Now before we hit done, there is a little help icon, this little question mark in the bottom left corner. When we click that, that will pull up a help screen that is specific to which part of the B9Create 2.0 software we're in. So for this, it pulls up about adding an STL into the B9Create software. It gives us some handy little videos that we can view. It talks about how files are loaded, how we can look at file size, so on and so forth. So this is very helpful if you get stuck. In the bottom corner, you can also use this find on page function. So if you know you're looking for a specific word, you can type that in here and it will highlight it inside of this window. There is one other window, a button here that I'm not going to click on at the moment, but this view online help articles, when you click that, it will open up our landing page on our website that has all of the help articles for our software. So that one is not specific to this section when you do click that. So we're going to close this for now. Since this is the file that I want to load, I'm going to click done. And now we have our ring showing up on our build table. So there's some things that now we have visible that weren't there before. We have an auto arrange button. We're not going to click that just yet because we only have one item on our build table. Directly below that under parts, you'll see that matrix signet ring with the same name that we imported. You have this hide icon that's on the front, which I'll show you in a moment. You have a duplicate button, which I'm going to click now. When you do that, that will automatically add another part to your build table. You can also delete your parts from here by hitting remove. You do have to click it 2 times. So you click it once, it will give you a check mark, and you have to click that check mark before it disappears, otherwise you won't delete it. Now we're going to jump back up to this auto arrange button. So right now you can see auto arrange and then there's a 1 in there. What that does is the 1 is the amount of padding that is going to be put between each ring or each item on the build table. So I'm going to click auto arrange with 1. As you can see, it automatically arranged the rings next to one another with the padding of 1 as my option. I'm going to change it to 5 and I'm going to hit auto arrange again, and as you can see, the space between the 2 rings got bigger. So the higher that number in that box, the more space between the rings. Now, there's some things that you're able to do from this page that's also helpful. This hide icon, since one of these rings is in front of the other, if you hide it, it takes that ring out of view, so you can just look at one ring at a time, which is very helpful if you're trying to add supports and you can't see the spot you need to be in. And then you just click it again and it reappears. One other thing that is on this screen is when you click on a model, the little these icons that have like the arrows on the sides, this is how you orient your model. So for now, I'm going to remove one of my models because we're just going to work with one. And since there's only one on there, I'm going to hit auto arrange so it will center it for us. Now I'm going to click on this again and zoom in. Zooming in is used by the scroll mouse. By scrolling up, it'll let you zoom in. So that's what I did. So we'll talk about these arrows first. So if you need to move the model left or right, you click and hold the arrow and you can move it left, or you can move it right with the same side, but you can only move it those two directions. If you need to move it up and down, you use the arrow that's on the top and you can move it up and down. We're going to leave this one kind of hovered at the top. And then if you need to move it forwards or backwards, you use these same keys, or these same arrows, the forward or backwards ones. So that just allows us to move around the object to where we want it to be placed on the build table. Now you'll notice I had raised my model up off the build table and a warning message appeared in the top right corner. Before slicing, all models must be supported or touching the build table. It's important to pay attention to this because if a model isn't on the build table, it's not gonna slice because it won't. It's not attached to the build table, so it has nothing to attach to. To fix that, what you simply do is you make sure the model is selected, which will turn blue when it is. You right click on it and you'll get a little window that talks about some snap to options. Snap to floor, if you click that, it's just going to snap it directly to the build table floor. If there's a foundation down there, you can hit snap to foundation and it will snap it to that. For what we're doing today, I'm going to click snap to floor, which it snaps it directly to the floor and that little red message disappears. So now I'm going to auto arrange it one more time just to put it back in the center since I moved it around. Now, there's also these circles that you see on the model. There's a red, blue, and a green one. Each circle indicates an axis. So when you click and grab that circle, it's going to rotate that model on that axis. So that's the green one. If I click and hold on the blue one, it turns it left to right like so. And then if I want to tilt the model forward, which is what I actually want to do with this one, you use that red one. So now I have my model tilted forward, and as you see, when I did so, some areas started turning yellow. This is important for the next step of what we're going to be doing. Now, before I get out of this section, I want to talk about the cameras, panning and zooming and whatnot. So if you need to move your model around, you simply push and hold the center mouse button, and it will move the build table around. It's called panning. If you want to just, if you right click and move your mouse around, it's going to spin your model around whichever direction, either up or down, left and right. And then obviously your mouse scrolling back and forward or up and down allows you to zoom in and out. Also, as you zoom in or out, you'll see this little slider down here in the bottom, move left or right. So this is if you want to do it that way as well. So you don't just have to use your scroll wheel on your mouse. And then there's also some boxes down here that help you with orientation or orienting your model the way that you want. If you click the home button, this is just a good way to get it into a view that's, you're looking kind of down at an angle at your model so you can see a lot of stuff. Each box has a little white colored side, that's basically when you click on it, that's going to be the view that it snaps to. So as you click through those, you can just kind of see how your model is sitting on your build table, and it really helps you get a full 360 view of what your model is going to look like before you start supporting it. There's one more icon that I haven't touched on just yet. It's hide support bases. I will discuss that here in just a moment because it's related to the supports. So now that we have our model sitting basically where we want it to be, we are going to go in to the support tab, which is this little stick looking icon over here. It says supports. When you click on that, you'll notice some things do change. Now it wants us to start supporting our model. So the very first button here is adding a foundation. If you want this model to have a foundation, you simply click Add Foundation, and what it does is it uses a silhouette type foundation where it tries to save resin. It'll put a foundation kind of like if a light was shining down on the model, it's like the shadow that that light would cast. So it added my foundation there for me. The next thing I want to talk about here on the right hand side is support mirroring. This is really helpful if you are working with items that are symmetrical, specifically jewelry. For this particular one, using the Y to support mirror is really handy because it will cut the it will cut the ring in half, and then I can support on one side, and it automatically adds the support to the other side. So it basically takes my amount of work and cuts that time in half. There is a support preset which is directly below that. It is default by the default value is what it will show, but you can change it from tiny all the way to thick if you want to. It just depending on what you're supporting, you may need really small supports or you may need really thick ones. It just really depends on what you're working with. You can also clear all your supports or just your foundations from here, which we'll do in just a moment. Before you actually add a foundation, you can also click this drop down and specify what kind of foundation you want. So it is again just the default foundation, but you can make it super thick, super thin. You can have a small or a really large one. There's several options in here, and you can also add your own. So when you click this little box, it will give you an option of changing the bevel, the rim offset, and the thickness. We're not going to work with that today, but if that is something that you need to play around with, you can make changes to those, and you just click the save icon here and it will save your preset. So we're going to go up and we're actually going to clear our supports for the time being because we're going to show you another function. So let's say you don't have time to add all of your supports, you just want the software to do it for you. If you right click, another window will pop up, and auto support part is an option that you can pick. When you click auto support parts, you give it just a few moments. It does depend on how much you have on your build table. And then the B9Create 2.0 software is going to go in and do its best to automatically support all of those yellow areas in a manner that it thinks will work best for your model, so it will print properly. So as you can see, the auto support function completed. It added supports everywhere that it thinks that there's going to be an overhang or localized minima that is going to require supporting in order for it to print properly. Now you can delete any of these supports simply by clicking on it and pushing the delete key on your keyboard. Or you can right click on it and select delete as well if you chose to go that option. But you notice when I click on an item on the left hand side, there is another window that wasn't there from before. You can go into every single support on here and you can change all of these options so it's extremely customizable. You can make it, make your support fairly unique to what you're working with. And the cool thing is if you need this to be saved, you can click save as preset and then you can use that in your drop down whenever you're making supports. So you don't have to do this every single time that you're making supports. You can do it just the one time and then save it for later. There's one more thing that I would like to talk about before we move on, and that's down here in this auto support configuration section. There's a part template that is checked by default. If you come over here and hit custom, you'll see a default option appear down here. You have the ability to click this plus sign here, and you can come in here. If you have made your own support presets, you can come into this minima, which is always required, and change this drop down here. I made a test one earlier, so my test one is now an option in there. If I go in here and I pick that, and then I save this auto support configuration template and use that, it'll use my auto support presets and do it the way that I want. So it really saves you a great deal of time. The next thing that we're going to show you here is you'll see these X, Y, and Z long vertical bars here. This is called the slicing function, or not the slicing, I apologize, the sectioning plane. What this does is you can hide certain sides or parts of your model using the X, Y, or Z axes. This allows you to hide part of the model so you can get into certain parts of the model that you may not be able to see because other parts of it are in the way. So as you can see, I hid half of the x-axis, and now I can see inside of the ring, so I can zoom in and make sure, oh, there's a support that I need there, or there's a support I need there, etc. And you can use both the X, the Y, and the Z axes in order to really zoom in or hone in on your sections. And you can scroll in from the top or the bottom, and then when you're done, you can just click this reset button up here in the top, and this will allow you to reset it back to its reset them all back to 0. Now, I did say there was one other button down here that I didn't want to talk about yet. As you can see, when we're looking at the bottom view, you see all of these support foundations, and they're kind of in the way. This button here allows you to hide those. So when you hide them, they disappear, and then you can really see what's going on with your supports. So the visual graphic is just removed from what you're trying to do. It'll still print those, they're still there. It just makes it so you can zoom in and see what you need to without that orange circle being in the way. So now that we have our model supported and we have it in the way that everything's done, we're ready to put it on our printer, we can go ahead and hit start slicing. That button it has been up here in the top corner most of this time. So to start slicing, you really just hit the button. It's going to ask you where you would like to save this project, which is required before it will slice. I already have one saved here, so it's just my demo. So I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to hit save. It's going to ask, do you want to override it? I'll say yes. And then we just let it complete its slicing. It'll think about this for just a moment, and then the really cool part is now it is slicing in real time. We can see basically what the printer is going to see as it loads. So as this grows from the build table upwards, these are all of those layers that the printer is going to print. So essentially, this is exactly how it's going to look at every step of the way as the printer goes in and completes this. Now, this particular function, when using our previous version of B9Create 1.0, if you had surface finish checked, which allows for smoother prints, this particular process could take sometimes upwards to an hour. Depending on how tall your model is and how complicated or complex it is. As you can see now, we're almost 60% done, so it moves at a much quicker pace. And the surface finish that you have to specify in the previous version, that is always on. You don't have the ability to toggle that on or off. That's what we're talking about with this fast technology. This is part of that. So we're going to give it another probably 20 seconds here. Like I said, it's almost done. We're getting there. And once it's done, I'll show you how we go about getting this loaded to our printer. So 100% done. Thinks about it for a second. Once it's done, you'll see that this window on the right has now changed. Now you have the option of clearing your slices. The only time that you'll need to do that is if you saw as the model was growing, you saw like a completely missed spot that you didn't support, and you're like, oh, I need to go back and support that. You can't do that unless you hit clear slices. Also, you'll notice as it's completed, this window on the left opened up called the print library. So what this does is it enables you to load this file directly to your printer, that is on the same network. You don't have to use it via USB stick. If I was going to put this onto my printer, I would just simply come down here and hit Add to Project. Or Add to Printer, I apologize. It will go through a load, and then it will verify, and then it will put it on the printer. While that's loading, there's some other things I want to point out. It will give you a list of all of your printers up here at the top. We do have several printers on our network, so there's quite a few, but this is the one we're using for our demonstration today, the B9 Core series. You'll also see all of the items that are already on this printer. So like this sample print here at the top, this is already on the printer. And actually now, I apologize, I'm going to change just a little. It shows that the upload was successful. It tells me what printer it added to, and it does give us the IP address if we need. Then you just simply hit OK. So now you'll see right at the very top that recent file that I added. Now there's 11 files on the printer. I have the ability to see when the last time I made changes to this file, how tall it is, what volume it is. Again, those of you who are using FastWax will need to know this information. And then tells you how big your file size is. You can change your dropdown. You can sort it by name. You can sort it by recently added. You can also use this little ascending, descending toggle if you want to change the order. You can also delete these directly from here if you have too much on your printer. You can just do that right from here. You don't have to go to the printer. There's one other field that's in here that I want to talk about. It's the print queue field. So here you can set up kind of a workflow. If you have multiple people using the printer, if you have multiple jobs you need to get printed and you have someone who is printing jobs on the printer, you can actually set up their day here without actually having to talk to them. You can come in here and hit Add Current Project, and then it's going to ask you, what would you like the material to be? So we did this one in emeralds, and then it asks you what quality do you want it. So this one recommended, we'll just do the 50 microns. And then when you hit Add to Current Project, it's going to take this and put this into the print queue. Once it's in the print queue, it will basically be available on the printer itself as an item that needs to be printed, and the person who is going to be performing this job just needs to get the vat ready, get the bill table added, add some resin, and then they can just print directly from there, so they know which items need to be printed as they go along. Also, once this print loads into the print queue, sometimes it takes a moment, it will tell me how long it will take to print this item. It will also tell me all of the other items that are in there. Here we go. So it will tell me all of the items that are in there. We only have the one at the moment. You can delete it if you decided, oh, I don't need this one. You can also change its priority. So if there were 3 or 4 in here, it would tell me, or I can move them around based on importance. There's also one other item here. There's also another help button that will pull up all of the printing help documentation specific to this section that we're on. And that will help us if you have any questions on the actual print queue or the print library manager, etc. That will pull up that information as well for us. To update the firmware to firmware 80 from the B9Create 2.0 software, once you have connected both the printer and your software to the same network, you come to the left-hand side of the software and open the Printer Manager window. You will see your printer listed underneath of the printers list on the left-hand side. You will see an Update to Firmware 80 icon that you're able to select. Once you select that, it will begin the update process on your printer. First, it will load. After it loads, it will begin verifying the update. On the printer itself, it will change the screen to "Device is applying an update to the printer. Please wait." It is important to let this process complete and to not turn your printer off while the printer's firmware is being updated. And that completes my tutorial of the B9Create 2.0 software. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
So what does FAST do? So FAST technology is a slicing technique that smooths out your parts and gives you an effective resolution of roughly half of the micron or the pixel size of your printer. So what that translates to is like roughly 15 micron accuracy on your 530s, roughly 25 micron accuracy on your 550s, and about the same for the 5XLs or med printers there. Then also with, what's the other question?
I was going to say, we do have a question in the room. Can I use FastWax with the B9Create 1.0 software?
Would you like to take this one, AJ?
Sure. Yes, you are able to use the FastWax with the B9Create 1.0 software. The only thing that you need to do is obtain the volume from the printer itself, which can be found in our IFU, our FastWax IFU on b9c.com/fastwax.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Here's another question from Janie. Is there a best height to lift a model off the base? Like she said, think rings. Can you lay the ring, can you lay it flat pieces right onto the build table?
Question. So the recommended height for rings, or at least that I use in-house, I usually do 3 to 5 millimeters off of the build table if you're going to support it off of the build table. And then if your model has a flat surface and you're able to, you can place it on the build table. Just be forewarned that sticking it to the build table, that first layer requires an overexposure, so it may cause a little flashing on that, or it's a larger slice than you would any of the other following slices. So. Another question?
Yes, so someone was saying that they wanted to understand more about the B9Create 1.0 with the FastWax. No, you don't have to get on the internet to find the volume, but the instructions for use are on the internet on our webpage. But and then the directions are also how to get there are also on a sticker on the bottle when you purchase a bottle of FastWax.
Excellent. Yes. So another question we have is disposal of FastWax itself. So FastWax being a more temperamental resin, unfortunately, it has a one-time use as you're printing it. So that's why we recommend on the instructions for use, you're going to measure out the volume that you need plus a little extra, and place that in the Duravat, and then you'll be able to print. And the excess resin then would be disposed of properly, given your state's chemical disposal processes there. So, any other questions?
Yes, we have a question. It was asking about someone who uses an Apple computer at work and wondering if FAST technology will be configured for Apple systems in the near future. At this time, the 2.0 software does not work on a Mac directly, but we do have users who use a Windows, like a boot camp type system where they can run Windows on their Mac. That at this time is the only workaround in order to use a Mac with our 2.0 software. I am not sure what the roadmap looks like for a Mac becoming available on that at this time.
Thanks, Andrew.
And then we did have another question. How much should we increase the size for FastWax? Janie says she increases or scales 1.02 for the B9 Emerald. And I believe that it is the same.
Oh, yes. In terms of the scaling factor, with the new fast slicing technology, this scaling should not no longer be a factor that you need to add into your supporting your models. With that effective resolution change, it is actually going to be printing more accurately. We actually had a customer that they had scaled models and they had stated, hey, my models are coming out bigger than usual when they upgraded to 2.0 into fast. And I said, well, yeah, do you have your model scaled up for previously in like 1.0? They said, yes. So you no longer have to do that. You can print it just as is. So, any other questions?
That is all of the questions in the room at the moment.
All righty. Well, with that, I think we're going to move on. But if any more questions come up, we can keep it rolling for a little while longer here. But yeah, can move on to the next slide here. So I just want to take the time to talk about a few of our new products that are either coming out soon or have just recently come out. First one is the B9 Course 5 Series XL, or the Med XL. And then plus it's a fast technology with B9Create 2.0. So with each purchase of XL printer, you also get 2.0 included. This involves a printer with a larger build volume, as well as that's the main change is a larger build volume, so that way you can add more pieces for a higher level of production there. This includes a different VAT system and a different build table system. You have roughly a 25 micron effective resolution there. And then, yeah, so with that, you get 2.0 as well, and can speed up your work process there. So next one is resilient silicone resin. So this is our first elastomer resin, really exciting. It's very flexible resin and can be used as a silicone-like material there. So very exciting on that one. We also have a BioRes micro precision resin that has just recently been or came out here. So this is for fine detail medical models, such as the one shown here on the screen. And this is an actual size comparison to the hole of a needle here. And then the part that you're seeing, you have the 3 holes on the side. The bottom one is 1 micron in, 10 microns, I believe. Yeah, 10 microns in diameter there. So it's pretty impressive in a very, very small size. So the next one is fast wax casting resin. So this is a new casting resin that has a higher wax content, allowing you for easier and more beautiful end casts and less post-processing after the fact. So it speeds up your workflow as well. This is not strictly for jewelry. You can use it for other casting methods, but results may vary on that depending on the parts that you're trying to cast for sure. So next one is the B9 Clean XL and B9 Model Cure XL. So with the XL printer coming out, we have that increase in build volume. So we required to upgrade those clean units and cure units in order to fit that larger volume. So with the B9 Clean XL, you can actually purchase a new unit, or you can get an upgrade for your current unit in order to get it to that XL level. So please contact your sales rep to talk about that option. And then your B9 Model Cure XL, it's actually a different model of cure unit. You have a lot more choices with this one in terms of selection for intensity. You can adjust what's called the duty cycle, or the flashing, whether or not the UV light is constantly shining or flashing. And then of course you can select time as well on that. So definitely check out those on our website. And speaking about that, so B9 Creations, next steps here. If you're interested in any of these products or anything that we talked about over today and you have more questions, please feel free to email us, give us a call. If you're interested in learning about these new resins, definitely request a sample and we can give you as much information as you want. So with that, any last minute questions, Adrian?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We're really excited to be able to provide these webinars and these informational sessions, and excited to become partners with you all in your endeavors or with work. So yeah, please give us a call or an email, and yeah, we're very happy to have you here. So thank you. And with that,
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.